Okay. It looks like we should be live on Facebook now.
I need to pull that up on my phone too. I totally forgot.
That's all right.
I'm not doing good this morning. I am like forgetting everything.
You got a lot going on.
I think so. And I am like forgetting. Oops. Then I forgot to turn the volume down.
It happens. It happens. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us here on Zoom, all of you that came on, and for everybody that sees this on Facebook, whether you're watching it live or recorded. We appreciate you being here very much. And today our topic is mantras. And this is going to be a fun topic because there's a lot of information out there on mantras, and some of it isn't always the best, or it's just not enough information, right? And you hear a lot of different things. So I looked it up in the dictionary, and it just said that it was a series of words chanted as in a religious ceremony. And then I thought, well, that doesn't say too much about it. Then another definition said mantras are a way to focus your concentration during meditation. So it seems like there's a lot of different definitions of mantra out there and what that really means. But we want to talk today about mantras and how they help us. So I'm excited that Leah and Kelly are here because they have a lot of experience with mantras. And maybe Leah could just kick it off. You know, we've got that kind of definition, but it's so much more. Mantras are so much more than just what you find in the dictionary, aren't they?
Yeah, I think for me, mantras, when we talk about mantras, for me personally, when we're talking about mantras, I'm thinking about something that kind of I can repeat that will keep me in a space. So one of the mantras that we use in the Let Animals Lead method is all is well. And that's a great mantra because it brings you back to the present moment. It brings you back to what is real. Because when we're worried about something that hasn't even happened yet. And we take ourselves out of an all is well feeling. So the mantra all is well, and when it's repeated over and over and over, and at first it's just more like, okay, all is well, all is well, all is well, just to kind of try to calm yourself down. You start to then realize, you know, at the end of the day, all is well. Everything is well. In this moment, which is really all we have, all is well. So for me, mantras are really good for when I'm feeling scattered and I'm trying to get into a meditative space. I can then use that mantra to bring me back into a very grounded space and to keep my mind on the present moment. So for me personally, that's how I use mantras. I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but for right now, that's what I'll say.
Thank you, Leah. And Kelly, would you like to add anything to how you use mantras?
Quite similar. A lot of times I am peaceful. I am happy. I like to use the metta as a mantra. I am peaceful. I am happy. I am safe. And of course, as we, I don't want to get too far ahead either, but they're such an important part of our second level Reiki practice. But right in the beginning, as Leah was saying, all is well is what we start with, and is a really kind of generic mantra you could use for anything. It doesn't just have to be in our Reiki practice. So, the other thing with mantras is often the sound themselves just create that vibration that gives you that peace and that centering and grounding.
Mm-hmm. And that's a really good point because of the philosophy of Kodadama, which believes that all sounds have power. And so as we say these words or whatever mantra we use, any word could really be a mantra because every sound has power behind it. Some maybe are, maybe not as powerful, or if you want to say that. But whatever word we're using, if we are saying this with intention, if we're present with this mantra as we speak it out loud, there is the belief that it can have, the sound itself can have a great deal of power to transform our lives, to just change things. Leah, would you like to say anything about Kodadama?
Yeah. So, as you said, it means that there's power in words. And when we learn the symbols and mantras, and even the precepts, those all have Kodadama. There's power in it. So reciting the precepts, for today only, do not anger, do not worry, be honest in your work, be humble, and show compassion to yourself and others. When we're saying those out loud, there's power in that. There's also power in the Kodadama for when you learn level 2, when you're learning the symbols and mantras. The Kodadama for Honshaze Shonen and Daikomyo, there's actually a lot of power in those. They say that the power lies in those because they're actual kanji, they aren't symbols. So saying those can sometimes create more energy within you than, like, let's say if you were to draw them. So I always find that really interesting. But that's why primordial sound too is also really effective. There is power in sound, and there's even power in sound when we read to our pets, read to our children, right? There's power in our voice, power in the sound of our voice.
That's a good point. Because people, even when we were tribal, we would make sounds. Native peoples would chant and make their sounds. We have been so connected to sound and the vibration of sound for so long. I think it's just recently that we kind of forgot about that as we became industrialized. Maybe we lost track of that. But if you look at the history of mankind, whether you call it mantras or chanting or sound, that has been a big part of our lives. And I think there's something to be said for that. If we really look back, why were we so attracted to sitting around a fire and chanting or, drumming? What was it? It was that vibration that we got. And we've seen the priests, who chant in the churches. So it's not that unusual. I mean, people have been having mantras and chanting and using sound for a long, long time. This isn't something new.
Well, the word mantra comes from Sanskrit, and man means mind and tra means release. So mantra is a combination of sounds meant to release the mind from anxieties and material life. So it makes sense that why they work, because it's releasing our anxieties when we can concentrate on the mantra that we're speaking.
Right. And I love that you brought up the fact that, even reading to your pet, the sound of your voice, I'm sure it's because your voice when you're with your pet, for most of us, changes a little bit. There's a lot of love that gets carried into our voice, and the animals pick up on that. And what a great way to share that.
Well, you're less anxious when you're reading. Now you're calm. Now your anxiety has started to dissipate. Now your energy is starting to be calm. So, as we say, stress is contagious, but so is peace. So it makes sense that when we read to our animals, that we're starting to calm ourselves. So, because you're not going to be reading like, the red dog said, you're going to be reading, okay, the red dog, and you start to calm down because, right, you're talking slower, your mind starts to slow. And where your focus goes, your mind goes, your energy goes. So your focus is going to the words on the page and not to what's happening up here.
Right. And that's a good point, because even with our mantras or our meditation, if we're just whipping through the precepts without much thought, then we're not really embracing them or getting to know them, embodying the precepts.
That's a tricky thing too, because we do it so often that we get we know it by rote, right? So then it just becomes something we're saying and not something we're truly embodying. I think that's a really good point, Jamie, that, it's also helpful to read it, even though you already know it, just keep reading it and bringing your attention to it that way, rather than just for today, blah, 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 because we know it. And so it's really ingrained in us, but how much are we really hearing what we're saying, or really embodying or feeling what we're saying?
Absolutely. Jazz is asking, how are mantras different from affirmations? And I would say that affirmations are usually something you might just say a couple times when you get up, or it's just like something that you might say if you're feeling sad. But a mantra is something you're going to repeat. It's something that you're using in a meditation. The intention is of a mantra to have that repetition, to have you, like it says, it's a release of your anxieties. And so in the practice of Reiki, that is what we're using this mantra for. We're using it to help us get into that space of calm and peace. And that's why they do help us. By reciting the precepts, you start to feel the space of the precepts. By reciting all is well, you start to feel the space of all is well. Whereas at first you might be rote memorization, but it's a repetition. And affirmations, in my mind, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly and Jamie, that affirmations is just something you might say when you get up. Today is going to be a good day, or I'm going to do this, or like, the metta, you might only do it once or twice.
Yeah, and I think affirmations more tied to, anyway, the positivity of the statement. And mantras, some of the mantras, like all is well, is positive, but there are mantras that don't have any kind of, positive or negative connotation to them.
Om is a mantra.
Sound of the earth.
It's you're repeating it. It's the repetition to keep you in that space.
That's a good point. And intention, I think, plays a part in that as well. Yeah. It always plays a role in our mantras as we embrace them and get to know them.
Absolutely. So Yvonne says, I guess the power of sound is like the power of words, where studies have been done to show the effect of words on plants and water particles. And that goes back to energy, though, too, Yvonne. Like the energy of what those words have, the energy of the music that they were playing. So what was how was his name? Emoto?
Oh, I know who you mean. Yes.
Emoto. So when the kids would go in and talk to the rice on the one side and say, oh, you're beautiful, oh, I love you. And then the other rice, they would say, oh, I hate you, you're ugly. The other rice got black, the other rice stayed fresh. It's more, that is the energy. So with mantras, you are trying to create that energy within yourself, that positive energy. So you're using that mantra to get into that space. But it's not necessarily like, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily like you're trying to affect something other than yourself and your own energy. But I think in Emoto's and with that study, it was like the energy that the energy like of the music. So remember when he played heavy metal music and that all the cells were like all crazy. And then when he played classical, they made these beautiful water prisms. So the water had all these beautiful prisms, but when they played heavy metal music, it was all like just black. And so that's more like the energy. But with the mantras, I think that what we're trying to get to is that energy of pure, non-attachment and just bliss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You can talk on air, Yvonne. You don't have to.
Yes, you can join us.
I didn't want to interrupt you. That makes lots of sense, actually, Lee. I hadn't really thought of it that way, but that does actually make sense. Thank you.
Yeah, it is kind of confusing. Words are words, but I think it's
a lot of
really
power.
Yeah, I think it's the intention of how we're using them. Hey, Jazz. Nice to see you.
I did like the idea of the mantras creating energy or helping us get into the correct, it's like a structure that helps us get into create the right energy for us. That makes a lot of sense for me. So thank you for that.
yeah, you're really just trying to use that mantra, like all is well. That's what you're using, or the precepts when you can't focus and you can't bring yourself into a positive space. Then we use that, for today only, or like what Kelly said, she uses for the meta. It's just a repetition though, until we really start to feel it, until our energy starts to feel it, and then our energy, starts to become that.
That would be helpful, because the other night I was trying to meditate and I was so stressed. I just couldn't. I mean, I tried it and it just started, and it would have been helpful. I think in a situation like that, maybe mantras would help, to just something I could stop thinking about. Am I breathing correctly? Is it in? Is it out? Where's the space? To just let my mind go blank and say things. I think that'll help in the future, because I was going to ask Jamie that, I just got so stuck. And I was just so stressed from so many things. And then I just ended up being more frustrated, but that's a really good tool. Now I have it in my tool belt. But I wanted to know, can mantras be any kind of words, or are there specific things we're supposed to say? Or
I would say that, it's just the repetition of it and something that can help you. So like you said, you were stressed. So I would use the all is well, because that can really help you get into that place of grounding. You don't have to think about what your mantra is. Cause sometimes I feel like when we're like, okay, I'll use this. And then if it doesn't quite feel right, then you're like, okay, I need to try this. That's why the precepts are great. If you're worried, you can say, for today only, do not worry, do not worry, do not worry, and just really start to feel that. I don't know if Kelly and Jamie want to share their
Go ahead,
personal.
Kelly, you look like you have something to say.
I always have something to say. Well, the thing I wanted to say was, having trouble with your meditation is absolutely normal and common. It doesn't matter how long you're meditating, it's going to happen. So you could be meditating for 20 years and you're going to have a period where you get stuck, and it's just showing up is the important thing.
I think I tried the precepts that night, and I got on the don't worry, and my mind started going, don't worry, but I am worried, but don't worry. You shouldn't worry, but I am worried. And I had this, so I think the all is well is going to work for me. Just say, okay, all is well. It's fine. So thank you very much for that. That I was so stuck and so frustrated, and very upset with myself. And it just kind of spiraled. And I'm like, this is not the direction. I don't think they want me going in this direction. And just, so that's really a relief. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Or the show compassion to yourself and others is another good thing you can do.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're not going to worry. It's just, are you going to hang on to it? So really showing yourself compassion and acknowledging that you are worried, and that's okay. But and to kind of work through that.
That's
could be another
actually a good point too. I'm worried, and that's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
For
Jess.
me,
Well, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just gonna say, for me, the mantras help me get into a more meditative space, because if I'm sitting quietly by myself, my mind tends to wander, so if I'm saying it out loud, it really helps pull myself in, to what I'm trying to do. So I don't want to say a distraction, but it just helps to focus from the distraction. So
Yes,
Absolutely.
that's a good
I
point.
agree.
Excellent point. So Jazz, thank you for, sharing that, because I know a lot of times we're like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. And Kelly's absolutely right. You are not doing anything wrong. This is just part of the meditation process. And you can ask people who've meditated for years. And yes, it may get easier and easier, but they still have moments where our mind takes off and they're worried about something, or they can't stop the thoughts, because that's what our mind does. So don't beat yourself up over that, because then you're right, you spiral and it just gets worse and worse and worse. Just step back, take a breath, and don't beat yourself up, because that is perfectly normal in this process.
Thank
You
you.
get up and walk away too and come back to it.
Mm-hmm.
But the big thing is that you showed up. And I think that's what I focus on when I struggle like that, is just like sitting here, whether it goes well or not, and You know, we can't get attached to either way anyways, whether, you know, oh, this is a great meditation. I want to, you know, replicate that. And then the next day, just like, oh, this is the worst meditation ever. Oh, well, I can't get stuck on that either. Like the next time I sit down, I can't be like, is it going to be bad? Is it going to be good? So just show up and whatever happens, happens. All is well.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kelly made a great point because she said, you know, don't get attached to it. And that is, you know, so much what we're trying to do is let go of attachments. We do that when we're working with animals, right? We walk in and we have to detach from whatever happens. We just have to become present, become Reiki, offer it to them, and just detach from however they accept it, what the outcome is. That's none of our business. So,
Go ahead.
you know, it's kind of that way with our process of meditation, because this is our journey. And so we kind of have to detach from how it's going to look each individual session.
Well, I think that's actually right on for me because I'm stressing over things that are going, commitments I have in my life. And I realize that it's my own expectations that are creating the stress. The I want to be perfect. I want to do this. I want to do really, and that whole thing of just showing up and just doing it the best I can. And also those expectations create horrible traps for me. And that not being attached to the outcome, just doing it and whatever happens, happens, and try to accept that. I have to really work on that. But that was a revelation for me, sort of like, oh my God, it's my own expectations that are stressing me out. And to, or the same thing like you guys talked last week, the expectation that an animal should react a certain way. And then they don't react. And you're like, oh, what did I do wrong? And just trying to accept that. So that's really helpful. That just not being attached to the outcome, just do what I can and be happy that I showed up. So.
And always go back to your breath, you know, like where your focus goes, your mind goes, your energy goes. So just going back to that breath and just slowing your breath down and just like following that breath down into your heart and then out, you know, just that simple process of just slowing yourself down will give you that space where then you can go, okay, I can breathe for a minute. And now, you know, you could look at things maybe a little differently. And now maybe you can bring in your mantra, or you can, but you know, always starting off with that breath and going back to that breath if you start to feel yourself becoming off balance too.
I was trying to do that and I ended up hyperventilating. So
just remember, it's not a, you know, it's just a slow breath, just very slow, just very slow.
I got a lot to learn and a long ways to go. So, but this is all.
We've all been there. We've all been there. We all are still there sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. We
Not a straight line.
No, it
That's for
isn't.
No.
Can I just say on the back of expectations, I know that when I do chokeré, I've got 2 cats and 1 dog, and one cat just freaks out. She absolutely hates it. The dog and the other cat will stay in the room, but Shady will just absolutely disappear at rapid speed. And I remember speaking to yourself about it at one of the weeks we had, Leah, and thankfully I've lost that. I just don't do it when she's around because I know she just doesn't like it, but it's just so funny that the other 2 love that particular chant, but I don't know what it does to her, but clearly not something positive, that's for sure.
Yeah, when we were at CARE, when we did the chokeré, the lion didn't like it, the liger. He just did not like it. He was biting the fence. He didn't like it at all. So it was like, whoa. So
I taught it to somebody once and they had to lay down. They felt like, I don't know, they felt really woozy and everything. She had to lay on the floor. So I think it's kind of funny. It's like, because to me it was really, you know, for me, right from the start, it was just grounding and felt like home. And it was the opposite for this woman. She was just like, oh my God, this is like, oh, it feels crazy for me. So I don't know. It might depend on where the balance is or whatever. But my cats don't, one of them doesn't like chanting at all. Any of the stuff I do. And the other one, he'll sleep through everything. He doesn't care.
When you get a bad, or you get a reaction like the tiger biting the fence or whatever. Do you change or do you just keep doing it or
You
do
move.
you
Yeah.
Mhm.
move? Oh, okay.
I mean, I was teaching a class, so we couldn't stop, but if you're just by yourself, I would stop or move. Just get out of the vicinity.
Yeah, I have 3 little dogs, and 2 of them are quite used to the chanting and they love it. And then I brought in this new one who's young. She's just still a puppy. And I started chanting, and first thing she did was jump up and bite my nose. So and so now it's like, okay, well, we're not going to chant around you because you're too young yet. And I don't think it's that she doesn't like it. I think it's just that she's so young, and it's like, oh, this must be, we're going to play. And she starts
Where's
up.
all that energy coming from?
Yeah. It's like, oh, what's
I want to get a feel for that.
so she's got to
Obviously.
get used to it.
Well, don't you see sometimes animals, it's like they try to taste the energy. It's really interesting. They'll just kind of snap around you a little bit. And
Well, Jamie
Well,
had
I
that
had one
experience
dog that
with
used to do
emu.
Yeah. I had that happen with the emus. And that's
right.
probably what they
Yeah.
were doing is they went around just snapping at us. And
Right, you did say that.
Mhm.
I think there's different reactions. I remember I had a student, well, a couple different students, they did, like the Joshin Kokuho creating a space. And I remember Lorraine said her cat came running up and then like slammed into a wall like 5 feet out from her. And she said it was crazy. And then I had another student say the same thing. Our cat just kind of like walked around this space. But I think a lot of times it's us and our intention, right? Our intention is this. So that's what they're getting. And they're like, that's interesting. Because for them, it's probably energy is just, it's everywhere, right? There is no, like, we have a limit. We're like, oh, my energy goes this far or whatever. Theirs is so expansive. And so when they come around us and we have this little limited, dense energy, they're probably like, what the hell is this? It's weird. It feels good, but it's so small.
Alison McKinnon in Scotland, when I did my level 2 with her, she just got her wee chihuahua, so she
Oh,
hadn't
yeah.
actually done any chanting with her. And when she was chanting with myself, it was the first time the wee dog had ever seen it. So Alison was closing her eyes. She says, I'll be keen to see what she does, because she was just showing me what to do and demonstrating how she does it. And I can't remember the dog's name now, but the wee dog just looked at her as if to say, what on earth? And honestly, within about 30 seconds, she was sound asleep.
Oh,
She just went from being like, whoa, what is that? And then zonk. And she was absolutely zonked for the rest of the afternoon.
that's so nice.
Mm.
Yeah, she just obviously loved it. Really, really loved it. And her wee chihuahua was reactive with the other one as well. So you had to be quite careful with the 2 of them together. And
Bailey Russell. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and the majority of the time, poor Alison was having to try and just keep them apart. But after she chanted, the wee chihuahua was just like, I don't even care who's in this room. I'm sleeping and you're not coming anywhere near me.
Oh my God, that's so sweet.
Yeah, it was quite amazing actually to see what just that few seconds of chanting, maybe about a minute of chanting, actually did just for that one wee dog.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Such a cute little dog.
Yeah, she's I can't remember her name, but
I can never
Yaz.
remember her name either.
I can't remember. Yaz, is it Yaz?
Oh, it might be Yaz. Jazz or Yaz.
Jasmine?
No,
Oh, is it
Jazz.
Jasmine?
Might be
Jasmine. That's it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah. So mantras can really help us to stay in that space when we're having a really hard time. And that's what I love about our practice is we have lots of different mantras. Like we said, we have the precepts, we have the all is well. We have, Chokure, Seiheki, and Honshaze Shonen. And then when you go to the 3rd level, you have Daikomyo. And I'm trying to think if there's any other mantras that we do.
No, not really.
Aside from the precepts.
Yeah. We do the vowels of the symbol sometimes.
Yeah, the primordial sounds.
Yeah.
I can't remember where I heard this, whether it was in a class or I read it, that the Japanese language is based on the 5 elements.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe
There's
Nicholas?
5 like primordial, la, a, I, u, a, o, right?
Mhm.
And they're related. Where did I read that? I don't know. Anyway, I thought that was really interesting. It made sense.
Was it in Nicholas's book?
Might have been.
I know he talks a lot about the vowels in there, and but yeah, that's interesting. But that's why Kodadama is, and we should, I can't remember the exact definition of Kodadama, so I want to get that from Nicholas's book, because it's a great
Sound that
book.
carries a specific vibration.
Yeah, but he has a little bit more. I have it right here. But yeah, it's just another, I mean, that's what I love about our practice too. We have so many different tools. So whether you like the sound, or if you like drawing the symbols, or if you just like focusing on your breath, there's all different ways that we can get into that space.
And some people don't like chanting because it's too much like singing, and they're like shy about it, I've noticed. And so reciting the mantra is better because they're not actually singing or chanting. So it's just, reciting the mantra over and over. So there's so many, it's true. I mean, there's so many different paths to that one thing of us, becoming the energy.
Right.
Exactly.
And so there's something for everyone. I mean, no matter
Yeah.
what you resonate with, we have something in this system. We're so lucky that most likely you're going to find a method that works for you.
If you like the drawing, you're great until you get to Hanshization end. Everybody's like, I don't want to draw that. It's too much for me.
Well, and then Nicholas says that the reason Usui created it like it is, and it actually isn't even something you could read properly. It's the kanji are like
You're condensed.
they're condensed and they lay out on top of each other, so that doesn't really read like that. And he said that there is power in the Kodadama for Honshaze Shonen. The power for Chokurei and Seihiki is in the symbol, because you draw the symbol. They're an actual symbol. And it makes sense because the symbol isn't a word. So yes, you can still get some effect by reciting their names and using it as a mantra, but it makes sense that Honshaze Shonen is more powerful to say it because it is a kanji, it is Kodadama. I mean, there is Kodadama in that.
Right.
Like with the precepts too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Who is Nicholas?
Nicholas Pearson.
Nicholas Pierce. Okay.
Yes.
And he wrote a really wonderful book called The Foundations of Reiki Ryoho, a manual of Shoden and Okuden. And he talks all about like the precepts, the history of the precepts, what Kodadama is, all about the symbols. It's a really great book.
Mm-hmm.
How do you spell his last name?
Pearson.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, I love when he does the precepts in Japanese.
Yeah.
There's something magical about hearing it in the different language. It's just, I don't know what it is. There's just something really powerful about it.
Yeah, it's in the original language. So I think that to me gives it power too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that, I don't necessarily understand the words, but so I'm really focused on the feeling when I hear that. How am I feeling when I hear these words and the sound and the vibration they bring to me? Whereas if if it was in English, my brain would be processing that language, but I can't. All I can do is feel it.
It's a really good point. Yeah.
Well, the Kodadama, it's like the words have power, but also that the sounds are sacred. So it makes sense that you would be able to, just feel that energy of them, because the sounds themselves are sacred. So not only do the words have power, but the sounds are sacred. And we don't, I think, have enough of that where we have sacredness in anything that we say
Right.
in modern times.
Right. Yeah. In ancient languages, there's more connection to everything, the culture, the gods, the goddesses, whatever, the land.
Yeah, and it's too bad. I mean, America's such a newer country that we don't have a lot of the things that other countries. I remember when Kathleen and I went to not Bath, Evian, and I knew it was a water. And they, it was at a French conference, and they would all sing songs. They knew all these different songs, and so the whole congregation would sing these songs. And one guy had an accordion, and one guy had a guitar, and it was just all songs that were just throughout history that they had kept. Like Yvonne knows because she lives in Europe, and you have those things. We don't have that. Like, I was trying to think, what song would somebody sing at a conference that everybody would know, young, old, everybody? Michael, row your boat.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
But that's, what I mean? That's it. And that's not even a really old song. I think that's from the 60s. It's a folk song. So, it's interesting how in America, we don't really have a whole lot. So this practice, I think, gives us that connection to a more ancient time, and which resonates with us. We're attached to that. Yeah.
That's so true, Leah, because over here in Scotland, we have Old Lang Syne at Hogmanay. It's just a traditional song that you sing over the bells just before or just after. And I do not know what it is about it, but it just reduces me to tears every time. And you don't even have to be in an emotional state. And, I've done it quite a few years now, and every single time it just reduces you to tears. And Plywood of Scotland's another one. I wouldn't say it reduces me to tears every time, but it certainly has a real emotional effect on you. And I guess if you were in that frame of mind, then it would reduce you to tears. But Old Lang Syne every single time.
Yeah, I think that the only song that we have would be like the Our Country 'Tis of Thee and God Bless America. And so, but those are like more songs that you wouldn't necessarily sing in a congregation, or at least we Americans probably wouldn't. It's usually at football games or football games or baseball games or whatever. It's like which is funny. That's the only time. But I guess that right there invokes that kind of thing. You're at a game, you're with a bunch of people, and you're singing God Bless America. Also, maybe we do have that tradition a little
Tribal
bit.
thing about it, I think that resonates.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, the Indians used to gather and do drum circles and do singing and dancing. And I think that we got away from that because we weren't honoring those traditions, right? Oh, look at her putting her snake away.
Hello.
Hi, sweetheart.
You.
God, I
What a
like
beauty.
Yeah. It was so funny. I was listening to Taya Strom is a really amazing animal communicator, and I was listening to a reading that I had with her in 2018, I think May of 2018, and there was a snake at Care called Noah, but it was a girl snake. Do you remember Noah? Kelly, did you ever meet Noah? So I have a picture of me. She's around my neck and she's going down my shirt and stuff. And she's an amazing snake. Kristen would take her to, Kristen used to do, they don't do it anymore because of COVID, but when the cruise ships come to Cocoa Beach in Florida, and she would do the excursion. So she would bring all the animals that can be touched, and you could get your picture taken with them, and she would teach about handling and things like that. So Noah was this big boa. She was brown, and she loved doing that. So I never really touched Noah or held Noah because I wasn't really comfortable with snakes. But then one year I decided, okay, I'm going to carry Noah around. And it was really cool because that was the year, I think, that Amanda Davy, a girl from the UK, came with her husband, and her husband was deathly afraid of snakes. And so we were like, oh, you don't have to take a picture. He's like, no, I'm going to fit. And so he put Noah around his neck, and it was really healing for him. He had this total healing thing. So when I was listening to this reading by Taya again, because she wanted me to write a testimonial, and I was thinking I would share the story of Makoto. And in the Makoto reading, she did a reading on Noah, and she said how much Noah loved being a teacher, and how she knew that she helped people heal, and that she was showing Taya all kinds of little hands and stuff, and she said she absolutely loved being that teacher and having people hold her and touch her and stroke her. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting. We don't think about snakes like that. but really they're just like dogs or cats, that they have that beautiful energy that they want to share as well, but we're also scared of them. So seeing Darlene Snake reminded me of that, because I just listened to it yesterday, and I had forgotten that she said that about Noah. And I thought, oh wow, we just kind of discount them because they're snakes, but really they have so much to give us in the healing of that. Because Kathleen healed her arm when she had when she had her mastectomy. She couldn't lift her arm up, and we went to care, and we were in the snake room where there were like all these snakes around, and one of the snakes started dancing when we were chanting, and she just started falling with her arm. Pretty soon her arm went up and she had no pain, and then we came out and she's like, I can lift my arm. It was the craziest thing,
Right.
Hi, little snakes, we're talking about you.
This was the guy that bit me the second day that I started working here.
Oh, he was
Oh.
just scared.
Yeah,
Sugar, he's very pretty.
What kind is he?
he's a Madagascar tree boa.
How long is he?
Oh, I don't want to touch him. He's probably about 18, 20 inches long.
Oh yeah. I think
But-
Kristen had one of those at one time, because the coloring looks really, yeah.
Pretty.
Yeah. Are they normally friendly or no?
They tend to be a little bitey, so that's
Oh yeah,
why
because
I've got him.
they say when they have that diamond head kind of, that those are the ones you don't want to mess with.
Yeah,
That's your warning.
yeah. So
But that
All
they
right,
come
let's see.
labeled.
Yeah.
But you talk about mantras and the vibration, sound vibration. Snakes actually really respond deeply to that. So, when we go to care, that we go to the snake room, and when we start chanting, the snakes start to, some of them will dance like this, and some of them they'll like crawl up the glass and just be straight. And one time, my friend Lindsay and I were at the Oregon Zoo, and they have a room with this huge anaconda. I mean, it's got to be like 10 feet long, and it's like this big around in some places. And we just started chanting silently, and he started to go up the wall, and people were like, and we weren't like loud at all. We were like, like this, just very light. And he started to go up the wall, and people were coming in going, oh my God, look at the snake. What's he doing? Why is he going up the wall? We're just like, oh my God. But that there must be some vibration in our bodies when we do it, because they're so sensitive to energy. Like, I couldn't figure out why I would, but I recognized it because at care, that's what they do. They go up the glass when you chant. So like the black mambas, the green mambas, all these poisonous snakes go up the glass and stand up. Like Kristen doesn't know. She's like, I have no idea why they do that. So they don't usually do that at all. So it's interesting, like, the vibration that we're creating within ourselves could be affecting those around us. I wish we could do find a scientific study on that.
Darlene, start chanting, please.
Yes.
Right.
See what happens.
Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute.
I say I'm gonna need to start chanting here in a minute. They're making me nervous.
Oh,
Like I didn't do usually when I come in, it's like I'll do like a quick, 3 to 5 minute meditation, just all is well, just to kind of put an overall calmness over the whole room. So it's like I didn't do that. So it's like I think they're just feeling a little, they're feeding off of my nervousness. So
well,
Yep.
let's do that chanting.
yeah,
Let's see what happens when you chant.
exactly.
Come on then.
That's right. You can mute yourself and just chant.
Yeah, but it is interesting though. We think that we're chanting for ourselves, but when we can change that energy, we can also bring calmness. I mean, obviously sometimes we bring like the liger biting like that to get
Yes,
out. I was just like,
yes.
oh, I've never had an animal do that. Never. There's something he didn't like. But he's also becoming a teenager. He's like starting to get manly and like want to mate and want to be a man. And so he's got a lot of pent up energy, and that could have been just too much for him.
Yeah.
So I think that I don't know if Jazz mentioned that, just always being aware of what the animals are doing when we're doing that chanting, making sure that they don't feel weird by us, because our energy can be off. I remember when we were in England, we were doing the chokeré, OAE, and one of the students was like, OAE, 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 OAE. I was like, okay, you would not want to be doing that around an animal, because that's just like, your energy is just,
I love that one in the dog kennel, because when they're all barking, and it just helps me to like really come in and center and ground and focus. And then all of a sudden I start here, and I don't do it loudly. It's sort of like, oh, way, oh, way. And then I'll look around and everybody starts one at a time, kind of, because they think at first they're like, what's that extra sound?
mm-hmm.
And then once they hear it, they're like, oh, that's nice. And then they just stop barking. And then one after the other, they start being quiet.
But I think for you really resonate. Well, you practice with chokeré for a long
Yeah.
time, like over
I
a
chant
year.
a lot. Chanting is a lot of my practice.
And so I think I really feel like it's, your energy becomes that much stronger because you're tapping into that within yourself. And so I think it's less of the sound and more of just that your energy is amplified now through that.
Vibrating
And
outward.
it could, because, even when you were just saying it right now, when you were like, and this way you could feel yourself just go, whew,
Yeah, that one's
energy-
home for me. I just feel like
That's what I
That's it.
mean. And
that's
I
where
think
I belong.
they're really responding, obviously the chant might be calming, but they're really responding to your energy, which, how like it's the difference. I look at it like the difference of when you're really confident and you come into something confident and everybody goes, okay, that person's confident. They know what they're doing. I can trust that person. And so like you're coming in strong and you're doing this chanting and your energy is really strong and calm. And so now they're like, oh yeah, this feels good. Okay, we can all calm down now. Mama's here,
Yeah, I'm really just doing it for me. The dogs are like, "Ah." They have hound dogs at the shelter right now. Quite a few of them. Oh my God. It's pretty loud in there.
They're so
bet.
loud.
I
They're
know.
so
I have to bring
loud.
earplugs, but I always forget to wear them, and then I'm in there and I just, oh well.
Beagles too. Any of those hunting
Yeah.
dogs. Well, they have to be, right? Because they have to alert. But oh my God, beagles. Oh.
Yeah, they had both beagles and a hound dog. I didn't
Oh,
find
well,
out what
yeah,
happened.
there's some
Might have
noise
had so
going
many,
on
but
there.
it was wild in there this weekend.
I bet it was. And, I think that's the thing for us to remember, as powerful as the mantras are and the chants are, there's no one way is the right way when you're working with animals or even for yourself. You may find a day where, you love this mantra and you use it. And then the next, you may just have a day where it's not fitting with you and you're struggling with it. You may have animals that absolutely love it. And then you have some who react to it, and it may be just the day, it may be that they're young, it may be, who knows what's going on with them. The important thing, I think, is that we honor that feeling, with ourselves. If it's like, this mantra I'm having trouble with it today, so I'm going to try something different, a different mantra, maybe just focus on the breath and honor yourself that way. And also with the animals, if you see that they seem upset by it, try a different mantra, try doing it silently, try moving away, or just go back to your breath and creating that space for them. So there's, as powerful as these mantras are, and really what we're doing is we're developing a personal relationship with them as we practice them over and over, and we really study them. We have a personal relationship with these mantras. It's not so much that we're going in, which we know we're not, but we don't go into an animal and, draw the symbol over them or send this type of energy, if it means power or whatever we think it means, and we're sending that to them. It's not for them per se like that. It's for us, and for us to develop that power and that energy of the Reiki, and so that it can really expand outwards. And then, to honor however they respond to it and adjust if we need to.
that which brings me to a question about like what you guys are talking about today as well as last week. When you're seeing an animal respond, how do you interpret that? How do you, like last week we were talking about, oh, the cat did this or the dog did this, and on the one hand, we're not supposed to be attached to that, you know, just kind of stay. But on the other hand, you want to be sensitive if you're disturbing the animal. Is that just experience where you kind of, or how do you know, you know, when you're looking at something, you know, if that's a bad thing or an aggressive, you know, how does that make sense? How do you, you know, I want to be sensitive, but I also don't want to be attached to how they're reacting to me. But how does one do, is that just experience or
No, I'd say that's experience. And I think that, you know, you're going to make mistakes. I pretty much when I've found when an animal is definitely not interested, it's pretty clear. And I think a lot of times we just have to feel how we're comfortable with it as well. So it's not just the animal's reaction, because sometimes that can be confusing, but how it feels for us as well. Well, this something doesn't feel right here. You know, checking in with ourselves intuitively as well. But experience is a lot of it.
Because I totally get an animal walking away, or not being interested. I'm more concerned about if I'm disturbing them or, you know, in some way upsetting them, because obviously I don't want to do that. So I guess just checking in with myself and seeing how I'm feeling.
Yeah, watching their body language, right? And also, you know, I always go into it with the intention that they receive what they need, but letting them know that they don't have to receive anything. And I think that, you know, for me, that's helpful because it still keeps it on them, whether they want to receive or not. And I think they're pretty clear when they really don't want it. You know, I've seen that. I don't know about you guys. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, most of the time when they don't want it, they walk away, you know, and just, they make it very clear. It's not that they stick around and, you know, unless they're forced to, which we never do. But in the case of if you're at a zoo or something like that, but even then, you know, I see them move away, you know, from you.
Yeah, it might just be too that they don't want to be as close, right? That they want to be a little further from the you know, expansion of the energy, which is cool too. So I don't know, it's pretty clear, you know, or they turn around and they look aggravated, you know, there are different ways. It's just really kind of doing more and more sessions and getting more and more, you know, experience to see how it works with them, you know, pick up the clues.
Yeah, and that's really what we're learning to do. We're learning to speak another language because we have to learn, you know, how these animals are communicating with us. And they're all different, you know, but they do communicate with us. And not like a communication thing, but through their body language, through a look, and it can be ever so small with animals. You know, I had a Jack Russell and she was just something, but she didn't get along with other dogs. She wanted to be the boss. And all it would take, I got to where I could see it. And it was like, that was it, that small movement with her head. And I knew she was getting ready to attack, you know, but so who would notice that? Well, that took me a long time to figure out. She was about 11 by the time I like, hey, you notice how she does that little movement? I think there's something to that. So again, it's just practice, being with the animals, observing them, you know, learning how they react. And, you know, I like to ask them to help me too when I'm in doubt. You know, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I'm kind of new at this. Please, I want to just come and offer this beautiful energy. You're welcome to it. Please help me understand, you know, your feelings. And they're usually very good about helping us.
Absolutely.
So it is 11:27. We've gone a little long for our meditation. Do we want to do a quick meditation to end out the? Yes. Okay. And those who can't stay, that's okay. But we're just going to very quickly just get comfortable, sit straight, Take a couple of deep breaths just to release the stress of the day. Relax your face and your neck and your shoulders. And we're going to begin with the Josh and Kokyu breath. Breathing in slowly all the way down to our belly, the Hara energy center. And then we're going to exhale this energy back out into the space around us. So breathe in, breathing in this beautiful energy that's all around us. Feel it traveling down your body all the way to the belly, really filling the belly. And then exhale this back out through your skin, your hands, into the space around you. Take another breath in, breathing in that beautiful energy all the way to the belly. And then release it back out into the space around you. Take another breath in. And exhale it back out. Take another breath in. And exhale it out into the space around you. Now let's set our intention to dedicate all this energy to the animals and allow your breath to find a natural rhythm. And then silently repeat the mantra, all is well. All is well. All is well. All is well. Just repeat that to yourself, really focusing on those words. Notice how your body responds to those words. And now go ahead and bring your hands in Gaso and give thanks to this beautiful energy of Reiki and to any animal that may have participated with you. Take a deep breath, a cleansing breath. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come on back into this space. Okay, well, that takes us right up to 11:30, and we value everyone's time. We don't want to keep you any longer. We really appreciate you being here with us today. This was a fabulous conversation. Thank you for the questions, for the comments. This was wonderful. It made my day.
Yes, thank you for joining us, Kelly. That was really nice. Always love your expertise.
Yes.
With you guys and talk about Reiki. Animals, our favorite topic.
Yes,
Right?
Definitely.
Thank
absolutely.
you all so much. And thank you for giving
Yeah,
up your
thank
time to do
you.
it too.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Thank you, Jazz. Thank you, Darlene.
Yes.
Thank you
Bye,
guys. It was
everyone.
awesome again.
Okay.